As you entered the sanctuary this morning, you may have noticed in the foyer these little ceramic plaques that have the symbols of many religions. And if you look behind you at the face of the balcony, you will see the emblems of many religions quilted and displayed like flags. We are a religion that recognizes that other religions are valid. If you look closely, right next to the yin-yang sign is a 9-pointed star. That is the symbol of the Baha'i faith. We use these flags in an interfaith service commemorating 9/11 and coming together despite our differences. And I have to thank the quilters for making one special for the Baha'is, who we didn't have represented, but they were participating in the interfaith worship, so we had to get them a quilt. The 9 points in the star represents the 9 major faiths in the world: Baha'i, Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, Jainism, Judaism, Shinto, and Sikhism. Now, I think we as UU should become bigger and become more major, so they'll have to add a 10th point. But Unitarians and Baha'is have overlapping beliefs and ethics. On their website, under the heading Principles and Practices, they list these following: equality of women and men, the prosperity of humankind. The worldwide Baha'i community has been working to effect a transformation at the grassroots level, one that encourages a move from culture of consumerism to a culture of sustainability. The harmony of science and religion. Science and religion are two systems of knowledge that are fundamentally in harmony, mutually reinforcing, and are both necessary to advance civilization. Consultation. Consultation is a distinctive, non-adversarial method of decision-making used by Baha'is in both their personal and community affairs. Independent investigation of truth. A focus on independent investigation of reality, whether scientific or religious, is strongly encouraged in Baha'u'llah's writings. Service to humanity. For Baha'is, service to others gives life meaning and purpose. Any work or profession carried out in a service to humanity is considered the highest form of worship. An important leader, Abdul Baha, wrote, "To be a Baha'i simply means to love all the world, to love humanity and try to serve it, to work for universal peace and universal brotherhood." Like Unitarian Universalists, they are a young religion. They came into their own in the 19th century. So many of the songs that you're hearing today are older than both Unitarianism and the Baha'i faith. Whereas Unitarian Universalism rose out of an older tradition of Christianity, Baha'i rose out of Islam, particularly the Shia sect, which anticipates the return of a 12th Imam, or in Christian terms, a Messiah. On October 20th of each year, yesterday, Baha'is around the world celebrate the birth of one of the founders of their faith. The child born on October 20th, 1819, in Shiraz, Persia, now Iran. His name was Ali Muhammad, but he was called the Bab, which means the gate. He was not the returning imam, but the one who proclaimed in 1844 that he was the bearer of divine revelation, which would prepare humanity for the advent of the promised one foretold by all the world's religions. That promised one, the Bab declared, was destined to usher in an age of justice, unity, and peace, promised in Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and all other world religions. His movement gained followers, but also raised the suspicions of the religious leaders of the day, and he was martyred in 1850. One of his followers, Hussein Ali, was imprisoned thereafter, and he would eventually be known by the name Baha'u'llah, the name which means the glory of God. On the Baha'i Topics website, they offer the following history. The year was 1852, and the man was a Persian nobleman, known today as Baha'u'llah. During his imprisonment, he sat with his feet in the stocks and a 100-pound iron chain around his neck. Baha'u'llah received a vision of God's will for humanity. The event is comparable to those great moments in the ancient past when God revealed himself to earlier messengers, when Moses stood before the burning bush, when Buddha received enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, when the Holy Spirit in the form of a dove descended upon Jesus, and when the Archangel Gabriel appeared to Muhammad. Baha'u'llah's experience in the Black Pit, which was a dungeon in Persia, set in motion a process of religious revelation which, over the next 40 years, led to the production of thousands of books, tablets, and letters, which today form the core of the sacred scripture of the Baha'i faith. In those writings, he outlined a framework for the reconstruction of human society at all levels: spiritual, moral, economic, political, and philosophical. After he was released from prison, he became a leader among the exiled followers of the Bab. In 1863, in Baghdad, he declared that he was the one that the Bab had predicted. He was persecuted for much of the rest of his life, often spending much time in prison, which gave him time to write and write and write. One of the hardest things about exploring this religion is that it's hard to find the main text because there's volume after volume and there's still stuff that needs to be translated. He died in 1882. Here are some of the things that he wrote. All men have been created to carry forward an ever-advancing civilization. The Almighty beareth me witness, to act like the beast of the field is unworthy of man. Those virtues that befit his dignity are forbearance, mercy, compassion, and loving kindness to all people and kindreds of the earth. UUs have a slogan that we are a religion of deeds, not creeds, which means that we have no official creed that anybody is required to adhere to, but we do expect from each other to act with justice and mercy. Baha'u'llah wrote something similar. He said, "The essence of faith is the fewness of words and the abundance of deeds. He whose words exceed his deeds knows verily his death is better than his life." So don't talk about it, just do. In 1893, Unitarian Jenkin Lloyd Jones, the uncle of Frank Lloyd Wright, organized the Parliament of Religions in Chicago with the hope of fostering relations among religions of the world. And the Baha'i faith was first mentioned in the United States in 1893 at the Parliament of World Religions by a Presbyterian missionary. That following year, Thornton Chase, a Chicago insurance manager, became the first American Baha'i. By the end of 1894, 4 other Americans had also become Baha'i. The Baha'i faith spread quickly and formed in cities across the country. In 1909, the first National Convention was held and had 39 delegates from 36 cities. There are currently about 169,000 Baha'is in the U.S., and there are approximately 6 million worldwide. They tend to meet in small groups in each other's homes, not building churches. But when they do decide to build a house of worship, they go all out. They have a few continental houses of worship around the world. The Baha'i house of worship for the North American continent is located in Wilmette. You see on your order of service a picture from the ceiling of that domed structure. It was built over a period of 40 years, and the temple was dedicated for public worship in 1953 as the first of 8 continental houses of worship. The other 7 houses of worship are in Panama, Central America, Germany, Europe, Uganda and Africa, Australia, Western Samoa and Polynesia, and India. And the one in India, if you could go online and look, is incredibly beautiful. It's shaped like a giant lotus flower. And each of these temples have 9 sides representing the 9 different religions. If you go to Wilmette and look at the intricate carving in the white stone, you'll see symbols of many, many different religions, all carved in the stone. And it's a beautiful sight to be, and it's a beautiful place to just stand and think of the power of humanity and what could happen if we all came together. One of the things I like about the Baha'i temple in our country is that the stone looks like lacework. It looks in some ways very fragile, but that all these different strands coming together is what really builds our strength and our unity. Our youth, in a recent field trip, have visited this holy place as they've come to learn about world religions. So if you go on the youth Facebook page, you'll see some of our young people who visited the Baha'i temple. I really enjoy knowing that we are not the only people in the world who are going about this business of trying to get beyond what separates us. The Baha'is try to unify people under one God, and I think Unitarians try to unify people even one step beyond that, trying to unify believers and non-believers in our common humanity. I don't care what you believe as long as you are a humanitarian, someone who cares for your neighbor and even your enemy. And that's wonderful in the context where we are, next to Purdue, where we have so many international students, and the Baha'i group is part of the United Religious Leaders, and they're also part of the Interreligious Network of Lafayette. And we're always looking for ways in which we can come together and build bridges, to love people, even those who may disagree with us. Because even though we're separate, like the fingertips on our hands, if each of us go deeper into our own faith, we will come out at some unifying point that's stronger and closer to the heart of who we are. Part of life requires us to be discerning and try to figure out one thing from another, and we can't function if we're just kind of swimming in a morass of cosmic unity. So our life pulls us to make these separations. But whenever we are deciding about one job and not another, one spouse and not another, one political party or another, we have to realize that we are dealing on the surface, making our best effort to understand what will propel the world into justice and love. We may have adversaries, people with whom we disagree. But if we are aware of the cosmic unity, the unity that is deeper than any of our beliefs, our races, or our nationalities, it is at this point where we will refuse to hate. To refuse to hate even while advocating our best opinion for what is good. Anytime you express opinion, you will have opposition. That just goes with the territory. You cannot choose without having someone be different than you. But if we hold that beneath that difference, that our enemies, our adversaries, and even our friends, who we sometimes don't allow to be different people from us, are different people from us. But underneath it all, we're bound together by our common humanity and keeping our focus on that hope for a better world. It may never happen in our lifetimes. It may never happen in the lifetime of our grandchildren and great-grandchildren or anybody's lifetime. But to work towards unity, even to fail at that, is better than to succeed at working towards separation. It's easy to divide people. It's easy to find the cutting word, the violent act that separates people. And so if you want quick success in this life, be cutthroat. But just remember you will be just as vulnerable to have your own throat cut. By being compassionate, you may still not reach the goal that you want. You may still be vulnerable, but at least you're moving the ball in the right direction. You're moving the world towards harmony. This is a sermon that I need when I watch the news. I look at Syria, I look at the politics, I look at the hungry that are still on this planet. And it is so overwhelming. So overwhelming that I sometimes think, why try? And it does me good to stand in front of a room of people who say, we're going to try anyway. And I think it does this organization good to know that there are other organizations like the Baha'i faith that are trying to do the same thing. Trying to build that unity. That some days when we're weary, we might not be able to carry the load, and we should rest. But when we have our energy back, know that we are not alone. The more people we talk to and embrace about humanitarian goals and justice, the more that idea will creep through humanity. I think of the words of John Lennon in Imagine. You may see I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. And it's an impossible thing, but it's something that's very life-affirming to live by, because the only way it will be possible is if we live up to our dreams of unity. Thank you.